Welcome to our tutorial on building a plant identifier app using the Google Gemini API. In this video, we'll guide you step by step through the process of setting up your development environment, connecting to the Gemini API, and writing Python code to identify various plant species. Let's dive in and get started. In this scene, we're going to get your Google Gemini API key, which is essential for building our plant identifier app. First, open your browser and navigate to the Google Cloud Console. If you don't have an account, you'll need to create one. Once you're logged in, click on the Select a Project drop-down at the top of the page and either choose an existing project or create a new one. If you're making a new project, give it a name that reflects its purpose, like Plant Identifier App. Next, on the left sidebar, locate the APIs and Services menu and click on Library. In the library, search for Gemini API and select it from the results. Click on the Enable button so you can start using the API. Now, head over to the Credentials section in the sidebar. Here, click on Create Credentials and select API Key. Your new API key will be instantly generated. Make sure to keep it secure and avoid sharing it in public repositories. You'll need this key later for connecting your app to the API. Welcome back. In this scene, we're going to set up the Python client for the Google Gemini API. First, make sure you have Python installed on your machine. If you haven't done that yet, head over to Python.org and download the latest version. Once that's ready, open your terminal or command prompt. Next, we'll install the necessary libraries. Go ahead and type pip install googleauth 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 httplib2 and hit enter. This command will install the authentication libraries needed to access the API securely. Now that we have the libraries, let's create a new Python file called Plant Identifier. Open your favorite code editor, and in this file we need to set up our client. Start by importing the necessary libraries at the top from Google. Auth, transport, requests import request from Google. OAuth2 import service account. This will allow us to handle authentication correctly. In the next step, we'll configure our credentials, so keep that service account file handy. Let's dive in. In this scene, we're going to send an image to the Google Gemini API for plant identification. First, ensure you have your image ready. It can be a photo of a leaf, flower, or any part of the plant you're curious about. In your Python script, we'll use the request library to make this process smooth. You'll start by defining the URL for the Gemini API endpoint. Next, create a header with your API key for authentication. Now, let's load the image. Use the open function in binary mode to read the file. Don't forget to handle any potential errors here. It's good practice. Once you've loaded the image, you'll craft a payload, including the image in the request. Then, use the requests post method to send your image to the Gemini API. If successful, you'll receive a response with identification details. We'll cover how to interpret this response in the next scene. Now that we've made our API call to the Google Gemini service and received a response, it's time to parse the data to extract useful information about the identified plant. First, we'll convert the JSON response into a Python dictionary using the JSON loads method. This is crucial because it allows us to access the data in a structured way. Let's start by checking if our API call was successful. We can do this by looking for the success key in our response dictionary. If it's true, we'll dive deeper. Typically, the information we need is nested in the results key. We want to pull a few specific pieces of information: the plant's common name, scientific name, and some care tips. Access each of these keys directly to retrieve the valuable details. Finally, we'll print out this information neatly for the user. This way, they'll know exactly what to do with their new plant. Now that we have our backend set up using the Google Gemini API, it's time to build a simple user interface for our plant identifier app. First, let's use tkinter, which is a standard GUI toolkit in Python. Open your IDE and create a new Python file named app.py. Start by importing the tkinter library. We'll create a main window, let's call it root. Set the title to Plant Identifier for a clear user experience. Next, define the dimensions for your window. I recommend 400 by 300 pixels. Now, we need an entry widget for users to input their plant image. Add a button labeled Upload Image that allows users to browse their files. When they select an image, we'll want it to be displayed in a label or maybe even a canvas on the window. Lastly, let's add a Identify Plant button. When clicked, this will trigger the function to send the image to the Google Gemini API and display the results below. Remember, user feedback is key. Consider adding a status bar to indicate when the identification is in process. This basic interface will set the stage for a functional and interactive app. In this section, we're going to tackle a common challenge when building our plant identifier app: handling unclear images. Sometimes users might upload photos that are blurry, poorly lit, or taken from awkward angles. These conditions can significantly hinder the accuracy of our identification process. To improve our app's resilience, we'll implement a few strategies. First, we can integrate a pre-processing step that boosts image quality. This includes applying filters to enhance sharpness or adjusting brightness and contrast. Additionally, we'll set up a validation mechanism that prompts users to retake their photos if the clarity is below a certain threshold. Next, we'll utilize the Google Gemini API's built-in capabilities to analyze the submitted images and provide feedback. By allowing the API to attempt identification, even with less than perfect images, we can offer suggestions based on the best match available. This way, we create a smoother user experience while still striving for accurate results, even from unclear images. As we wrap up our tutorial on building a plant identifier app with the Google Gemini API, let's quickly recap what we've learned. We set up our Python environment, integrated the API for plant recognition, and created a user-friendly interface. Don't forget to test your app and fine-tune it for accuracy. Thanks for joining me today. Be sure to like and subscribe for more coding tutorials.